Hello everyone, welcome to the part 2 of CEA Regulation 2010, that is measures relating to safety and electric supply. Continuing from the part 1, we have seen the brief background, the present status of Indian electricity rules in the part 1. Now we will go through the topics like designation of manpower engaged, qualification requirement of manpower, periodic inspection requirement, general safety requirements, general conditions relating to supply and use of electricity. Regulation 3. Before starting the regulation 3, please note that this regulation 3 has been written in the pink words or pink color. Whenever pink color is used to denote the regulation number, that means it is very important. Otherwise the color used is white. The regulation number 3 is regarding designation of the persons for working to electricity. Earlier in Indian Electricity Rules 1956, the term used was authorized person. But authorized means you are authorizing somebody, or it has some authority by its own name or meaning. But a person who is designated for some work or who is performing some work need not have the authority to do so. He may be following somebody else's instruction. Suppose a worker is working in the field, he is designated to do that job, but whether that job has to be taken or not, maybe that decision to be taken by the engineer. So to avoid such confusion, designated person term is being used in this regulation and authorized person terms is no longer used. Now for the person to work on electrical appliances or electrical systems or equipments, the owner or supplier or a contractor who is in business with some owner shall designate persons. Also, they should maintain a register of the designated persons. No person shall be designated unless he possesses a certificate of competency and his name is entered in the register. So first, the owner or supplier or the contractor has to designate some person for working in the electrical systems. Secondly, he has to maintain a register which may have to produce in front of the electrical inspector. Many a time electrical inspector actually asks for the register. So there shall be a register where the persons who are designated for electrical works, their name shall be present in that register. Also, for designating a person, you must be confident or you should have some proof that he possesses a certificate of competency. So these are the three requirements for designating a person to the electrical works. Regulation 5 talks about electrical safety officer. For any installation which is carrying a load more than 250 kilowatt shall have electrical safety officer. All supplier of electricity shall designate an electrical safety officer for construction, operation and maintenance. The electrical safety officer shall be either electrical engineering degree holder with at least 5 years of experience in operation and maintenance, or some electrical diploma holder with minimum 10 years of experience in operation and maintenance. There are three things. If the plant load is more than 250 kilowatt, or supplier of electricity, they have to designate a person as electrical safety officer. Second point, the electrical safety officer's requirement: he should have some educational qualification like some engineering degree or diploma, and secondly, he should have work experience in operation and maintenance. The electrical safety officer shall carry out periodic test as per standard. So he has to carry out the periodic electrical test for the installation, and he has to also keep a record in form of form 1, form 2 or form 3 of schedule 4. So there is a schedule along with this CEA regulation 2010. So depending on voltage level, the electrical safety officer shall fill form 1, form 2 or form 3. These forms are checklist kind of form. Their questions are asked like what kind of conductors are being used, or whether conductors of different voltages are laid through the same support or not. This kind of checklist or small objective type questions are asked. He has to fill that form, and he shall also keep a register of recommended safety requirements duly acknowledged by the owner. Now, electrical safety officer's one of the major duty is understandably that he has to ensure the electrical safety of the plant. He should take account and he should note down his observation, and those observations must be acknowledged by the owner. This is also one point what CA inspectors want to see during the time of inspection. So this is very important to keep the register of recommended safety practices, and that shall be acknowledged by the owner. Regulation 6 and 7 talks about the qualification requirement of the designated persons. Safety measures for operation and maintenance of electric plants. The qualification and training requirement is that the engineer and supervisor should be degree or diploma holder. Technicians shall possess certificate, and for all of them training has to be arranged as per schedule 1 of this regulation. For safety measures for operation and maintenance of transmission line and distribution system, the qualification requirement is the same, that is engineer and supervisor should be degree or diploma holders, and technician shall possess the certificate of competency. However, their training should be as per schedule 2 of this regulation. This schedule 1 and schedule 2 specifies the syllabus for the training. It is very well specified. You can just go through the actual regulation, you can see what is the proposed syllabus for the training. That has been skipped in this presentation. Regulation 12 is regarding general safety requirements. We'll briefly discuss the design aspect. The equipment should be of proper rating. It should be standardized, that means either BIS or NEC, maybe IEC qualified, and those should be installed above mean sea level. This is how a machine or tool is designed. So 3 designing parameter is the voltage level, current level, and heat level. For heat level, cooling systems are designed. You can see transformers. You can see some transformers have some fins, some transformers are equipped with some pipes, some are oil filled, some are dry type. So the equipment is same, transformer. Why different arrangement of cooling? It because of their heat load. The more the heat load, more the requirement of cooling. So your cooling system shall be capable to carry out the heat. The current requirement is being made by conductor design. Bigger the size of the conductor, more the ability to carry the current. For voltage rating, insulator design should be proper. You can see some street light poles in front of your house. You can see a very small insulator has been installed under the conductor and above the pole. Whereas if you can see some 220 kV substation or big transmission towers, you can see huge insulator strings are attached. So why this difference? Because the voltage levels are different. In front of your house, it is having a phase voltage of 240 volt or line voltage of 415 volt, whereas long transmission towers can have the voltage of 220 kV, 132 kV, or 400 kV or so. So those requires bigger insulator. This insulator design should be sufficient to carry out the voltage. Regulation 15 talks about the identification of earth and earth neutral conductor and positions of switches. Where earth conductor is to be connected, indication in permanent nature shall be provided by the owner. You can see in the panels also the location of earth is distinctly marked. There is a sign for earth connection, it shall be present, and that shall be connected with the earthing mat or earthing pits. Second point is that no switch on the neutral other than linked switches or link of testing purpose. Linked switches are nothing but DP switches or 3-pole neutral switches. The basic idea is that if you put a switch on the neutral conductor for a single phase system, if you put off the switch, the load will go off. However, the phase will be extended to the equipment. If somebody touches the equipment, he may be electrocuted. That's why the switches shall always be provided on the line side or phase side, not on the neutral side. You can provide a switch on the neutral side provided it is linked with the switch of the phase side. That means a DP switch or TPN switch. Other than that, you can also provide a link to the neutral. This is generally required because the neutral conductor is used to be connected with earth, and sometimes to ensure the healthiness of the circuit, insulation resistance is to be checked. When you are checking the insulation resistance, if you do not disconnect the neutral wire with earth wire, you will get a zero value. These links are used to disconnect the neutral wire from earth. Regulation 18 is regarding danger notices. Who should provide? The owner of every installation. What should be the voltage level? The voltage level should be more than 250 volt. And the relevant IS for this danger notice is IS 2551. Every motor, generator, transformer, equipment controls, they should have these danger notices. Also, the danger notices shall be affixed in front of easily accessible overhead lines. The language of the danger notice shall be Hindi or English and the local language, so that everybody can understand. Also, you can see it is a standard practice to write down the nominal voltage level on the danger notice. These danger notices can be seen everywhere, either you are entering into the substation or you are entering to the modern office buildings. Even if you go to the shopping mall, you can see such danger notices. So this is mandatory for a voltage level more than 250 volt. Regulation 19, again it's a very important regulation. This regulation is for handling of electrical supply lines and apparatus, or sometime we call it hotline. Only designated persons shall be working on the electric supply lines and apparatus plants. They should take precaution as per schedule 3. That means they should be hotline trained persons. They should have permit from both sides of the lines. Somebody calls it line clearance permits. The weather should be favorable condition. That means preferably it should not be hugely raining, it should not be very humid weather. The tools and tackles, whatever they are using, they shall be inspected. Auto recloser for the circuit breaker should be kept off. The working person shall use the PPEs, that is personal protective equipments like gloves, rubber shoes, safety belts, etc. They shall also maintain safe working clearance. We'll see this. All panels should be painted with designation at front as well as at back side. So this is required. Earlier many people used to write the panel designation on the front side only, but it may have some problem. Suppose there are 3 panels, you need to operate on the panel number 1, which is at your left hand side from the front side. You isolated the panel from front side. Now you go to the back side. Then if you again open the left hand side panel, that is basically you are opening the wrong panel. You should open the right hand side panel. So there is a chance of confusion. To avoid this, nowadays it is a standard practice to provide nomenclature at the front side as well as the back side. This regulation is saying that thing. Also, these precautions shall be taken while working on a telecommunication line whose nominal voltage is more than 650 volt. Now we'll discuss the clearance, but just keep in mind that this clearance is specified for the specially trained persons, or we can say the hotline trained persons. This is not for everybody. So what is the recommended distance? This is mentioned in the schedule 3 of the regulation 2010. For every nominal voltage level, they have mentioned a safe working clearance. For 220 kV, the working clearance should be, minimum working clearance should be 1.52 meter. For 400 kV, it should be 2.13 meter. I have added the feet value on myself. But strictly speaking, this is not general minimum safe working clearance. This is safe working clearance for the hotline trained persons only. We will discuss the minimum safe working clearance for general designated persons later on. Regulation 21 says that no flexible cables should be used for portable or transportable apparatus unless they are heavily insulated and adequately protected from mechanical injury. If you see the industrial accident rates, a huge number of accidents occurs from the portable equipment or transportable equipment like welding machine, cutter, grinder, etc., which can be easily moved. Many a times the cutting wheel damages the supply cable and that may lead to the fatal accident. That's why their cables should be heavily protected from the mechanical injury, as well as they should be protected against electrical faults also. If metallic coverings are used, metallic covering means either you can use arming or somebody use flexible conduits. The metallic covering shall be earthed. We used to earth the arming part of the cable, and if conduit is used, that has to be earthed also. For single phase we should use 3-core cable, and for 3 phase we should use 4-core cable. The idea behind this is that for movable and transportable apparatus, the neutral cable and phase cable should go through the same outer sheath, or they should be concentric. The reason is that if some electrical faults develops in between the two cores or at the internal insulation, they should short each other. That means neutral should short with the phase or phase should short with the phase inside the cable only. No effect shall come out of the cables, because you are using some transportable apparatus, you may be very near vicinity to the cable. If some spark comes out of the cable, personal injury may take place. That's why it is recommended that bring the neutral core and earth core through the phase cores only. So preferably the neutral core should be laid through the phase cores. You can see for 3 phase red, yellow, blue and neutral, and for single phase you can take phase, neutral and earth cable. They should come through the same outer sheath. Of course the inner sheaths are different. Regulation 24 is regarding distinction of different circuits. The owner shall ensure different voltage circuits are distinguishable by permanent marker. Now the permanent marker may be danger notice, like you have some equipment for 11 kV, you affix a 11 kV danger notice in front of that, and you have some equipment of 33 kV, you affix a danger notice stating 33 kV in front of that. Somebody also use the different nomenclature. You may use AA for 11 kV, BB for 33 kV, something like that, and somebody may use different device number. Suppose one relay is used for 11 kV, you mention it 186. If it is used for 33 kV, you mention it 286 or 386. These things are very common practice in the industry. Accidental charging. So there should be protection against accidental charging. It has to be ensured that the charging is within the specified voltage limit only. If AC and DC are used in the same box, they shall not come in contact with each other. See, here is an example for achieving this purpose. That means that AC and DC shall not come in contact with each other. In industry, it is very common practice to provide the normal supply from the AC and emergency backup standby supply from the DC. So those things are taken by using the contactors. So contactors can be provided with interlock. One is a mechanical interlock. You can see there are two contactors and there are two levers. This is one the lever for one contactor, this is the lever for another contactor. If one contactor is pressed, the lever used to be pressed. At that time, if somebody or electrically second contactor wants to be pressed, this lever will prevent from pressing. That means only one contactor will be on and the other contactor will be in off condition. This is the mechanical interlock. This is a bit rare, but electrical interlock is very common, and even though mechanical interlock is present, electrical interlock is usually provided as a backup, and sometimes electrical interlock provided as standalone. Here what we do, we use the NC contact of one contactor in series with the coil of other contactor. The NC contact of one contactor in series with the coil of other contactor. It ensures that unless one contactor is de-energized, the other one will not energize, and vice versa. If somebody energizes, that will ensure that the other contactor is de-energized. Also, AC and DC should be used in the separate terminal boards. They should not be taken into the same terminal boards. Regulation 27 talks about provisions applicable to protective equipment. Fire buckets filled with clean dry sands in addition to the existing fire extinguishers. If you see industry today, everybody using the passive fire protection system and active fire protection system, like carbon dioxide system, somebody use nitrogen emulsifier system. What they are saying, that even though you are having a very good active fire protection system, somebody also use the portable fire extinguishers. So this regulation is saying that even if you have all those things at their place, you must have some fire packets filled with some dry sand, because there may be cases when this system may not perform their intended function at the proper time. There are instances, there are incidents in the industry, every systems are at their place, but when the actual requirement came, they didn't work. To avoid such problem, you should have the fail-proof system like fire buckets that is filled with sand. You put that sand on the on and over the electrical fire, that will extinguish the fire. Also, the fire extinguishers shall be tested at least once in a year. First aid boxes and cupboards shall be installed. Gas masks shall be present. At least 2 gas masks shall be present for the generating stations more than 5 megawatt capacity, and enclosed substations which have information capacity of 5 MVA and above. Now, if there is a multi-unit station like a power plant having 2 generators, one of 100 megawatt, another is also of 100 megawatt, then you have to keep 2 masks for each generator. That is, you have to keep 4 masks. Regulation 28 is regarding display of instructions for recursion. This CPR nowadays becomes very common thing. Many places school students are also being instructed so that they can use the CPR, as it is a life-saving technique, and the industry safety practices also includes the training of CPR. What this regulation says, that shock treatment chart in English or Hindi and the local language shall be affixed at the conspicuous spaces. Suppose you are having some switch gears, some transformers, generators, or some control gears, you affix a electric shock treatment chart there, so that if any person get electrocution while working, immediate first aid can be given him just by seeing the charts by anybody, by a layman also. Also, artificial respirator shall be present in the generating station, substation, switching stations of voltage exceeding 650 volt. This is a new requirement. Maybe industry is a little bit lagging in this aspect. Many person doesn't have this artificial respirator, but CE is encouraging everyone to keep this respirator, because this is a life-saving equipment, and as it is very easily understandable that what we most value in industry is the human life, the saving of human life. So this artificial respirator is very much essential. Now regulation 30, another very important regulation in statutory point of view. This regulation is regarding periodical inspection and testing of installation. First, let me read the statement. Any installation connected to supply system shall be inspected within 5 years either by electrical inspector or supplier. The periodical inspection and testing of installation of voltages equal to or below notified voltage belonging to the supplier or consumer shall be carried out by the supplier or the owner or consumer and shall be self-certified, or inspection can be done by inspector also. Self-certified forms shall be filled in Form 1, Form 2 or Form 3 as per their voltage level. The reports has to be submitted to the inspector. The periodical inspection and testing of installations of voltage above the notified voltage belonging to the supplier or consumer shall be carried out by electrical inspector only. For railway, mine, oil field, the inspection shall be carried out by the inspector only. Now, the first question, what is notified voltage? Notified voltage is a voltage that has to be declared by the state government, like Maharashtra has stated that 33 kV is the notified voltage. Now, it says that the inspection frequency shall not be more than once in a 5 year. So, within 5 years you have to inspect your installation. Now, the question is that who will do the inspection? There are two options for the installation whose maximum voltage is below notified voltage of your state. If your maximum voltage level is below the notified voltage, you can self inspect your installation, fill the form 1, 2 or 3 which is attached with this CA inspection CA regulation 2010 measures relating to safety and electric supply. You can fill this form and submit the form to the electrical inspector, or else you can call the inspector for inspection. Next point, the installation whose voltage level is more than notified voltage, they have to call the inspector for inspection. Next point, the railway, mine and oil field shall be inspected by the inspector only, irrespective of the voltage level. In this regard, there is another regulation, regulation number 43. It says if an installation including a generating station is shut down for a period more than 6 months, same shall be inspected before reconnection or commencement of supply. This is a very common problem nowadays. Many installation is kept for shutdown more than 6 months, even though nobody wants to keep shut down their installation for a period more than 6 months, but it takes place. Suppose some major operation is taking place, it may take a time more than 6 months. Then before recommencement of supply, that installation shall be inspected. Even if the last inspection has been done within 5 years, it has to be inspected once again if it is shut down for a period more than 6 months. Now, who will do the inspection? Below the notified voltage, self certification is sufficient. The report has to be submitted to the inspector. If the voltage level is more than notified voltage, or if it is a railway line or mine or oil field, then the inspection has to be done by the inspector only. So we have got 2 points. First, I have gone to the previous slide. First, within 5 years you have to do the inspection, or if your plant is shut down for a period more than 6 months, you need to go for the inspection also. Who will do the inspection? Below and up to the notified voltage level, self certification is sufficient. Just the report has to be submitted to the inspector and you should have a receipt of that, or else you can call the inspector also. But if your voltage level is more than the notified voltage level, or if you are working in for the railway or mine or some oil field, then your installation has to be inspected by the CA inspector only. Regulation 35 is regarding supply and use of electricity. This is regarding carry and break the current. The consumer shall provide, first we will see the left hand side, linked switch with fuse or circuit breaker for voltage level less than 650 volt. For voltage level less than 650 volt, linked switch or circuit breaker, linked switch with fuse or circuit breaker is sufficient. But if the voltage level is more than 33 kV, the consumer shall provide the circuit breaker only. For voltage level from 650 volt up to 11 kV, and if the load capacity is up to 1000 kVA, then linked switch with fuse or circuit breaker can be provided. But if the capacity exceeds 1000 kVA, then only circuit breaker has to be provided. If the voltage level is more than 11 kV but not more than 33 kV and capacity is up to 2500 kVA, then linked switch with fuse or circuit breaker can be provided. But if the capacity is more than 2500 kVA, only circuit breaker shall be provided by the consumer. For the transformer, linked switch with fuse at the primary shall be provided. It shall be able to carry full load current and it shall break the magnetizing current. For all transformers except generating transformer and unit auxiliary transformers of capacity more than equal to 5000 kVA installed before 2000 or capacity more than equal to 1000 kVA installed in or after 2000, circuit breaker of adequate rating at secondary has to be provided also. So linked switch with fuse at primary shall be provided, which shall be able to carry out full load current and break magnetizing current for all transformers including and more than 5000 kVA which has been installed before 2000, and those transformers who has been installed in or after 2000 if their capacity is more than or equal to 1000 kVA. This linked switch with fuse at primary shall be provided. For all the transformers, circuit breaker of adequate rating at the secondary shall be provided. Linked switch or circuit breaker shall be provided each distinct circuit and motors or group of motors. The example for group of motors can be crane. In crane there is one forward direction motor, one backward direction motor, or maybe there may be one motor which can serve for forward and backward direction, one motor for left and right direction, and one motor for up and down direction. Then these three motors become a group of motors. For group of motors, at least there should be one circuit breaker. For conditions of voltages more than 650 volt, all conductors in conduit and accessible to designated persons only. Whatever conductor you are laying, they should be laid within the conduit only. Up to 650 volt, you can use the metallic conduit as well as non-metallic conduit. These non-metallic conduits actually they are preferred for the sea kind of environment or where the environmental condition is very harsh, because metal has a tendency towards corrosion. Their non-metallic conduit is preferred. However, if the voltage level is more than 650 volt, only metallic conduit shall be used. All the metallic structure shall be grounded. Metallic structure means the base frame of a motor and pumps, the body of the motors, etc. Panel front clearances shall be at least 1 meter in width. With this is the end of part 2. Thank you for watching. Please follow us in the part 3. Thank you very much.